What's good, everyone? Surreal AG here, back at you again on the Lockdown Defense Sports Network and Chiefs Kingdom. We are back, baby. Back in the AFC Championship game, facing off this Sunday against the Buffalo Bills. Now, KC is currently a 1.5-point favorite at home in Arrowhead, but I think it's safe to say that pretty much everyone outside of the kingdom would very much enjoy seeing Buffalo win this game and the Chiefs fall flat on their face in this historic three-peat run that they are trying to pursue. You know, it is very much KC versus everyone right now. I know what you're thinking, and yeah, I'm going there. I'm saying it. Chiefs haters are going to be out in full force for this game. But, just matchup speaking wise, this will very much be the bouded title prize fight, everyone's expecting it to be. This is the fourth time, Mahomes and Allen have squared off in the playoffs. I think we know how the other three went. And just overall wise in the Mahomes-Allen era, the teams are 5-5 against each other. So it's very much been a back and forth volley, if you will, in who comes out on top in these games. This, like I said, is going to be a great game. And if the track record of these teams squaring off is any indication of how this game will go, it's more than likely going to come down to whoever has the ball last, maybe even in overtime. And so with that, I thought it was perfect time to drop my little preview of the game, just highlighting what I think are some key matchups to watch for the Chiefs on both the defense and offensive side of the ball, as well as, the biggest X factors and what I think will need to be executed upon for KC to win this game and ultimately move on to Nolans. Just for the KC defense, I'm not going to deny that the Bills' offense is pretty legit. It's basically been a juggernaut all year. Josh Allen has been the shoe-in MVP, and they have just continued to roll on this run they're on offensively. In fact, Buffalo has scored 27 or more points in 11 of their last 13 games. And they're actually the second in the NFL in points per game this year, while KC is where they've been the past few years, respectively, and they're fourth in the league in fewest points allowed. So, that will be a good matchup, just offense versus defense there. But, the biggest component of this matchup for the Chiefs defense will be the virtual or 3D real life chess match, if you will, between Josh Allen and Joe Brady and Steve Spags and the Chiefs defense. Now, I know what people have been saying after the Houston game, and I hear it, but there's no denying that the Chiefs defense is coming off of an absolute heater performance against the Texans. Despite what people have said about the refs and everything else, the refs did not get 8 sacks on CJ Stroud. The refs did not rack up 14 QB hits in the last game. That was Spags. That was Chris Jones. That was Furious George Karlaftis and this Chiefs defense. So they're going to need to come out in full force and continually do what they did against Houston and constantly pressure the QB, constantly get in the backfield and just create the havoc and opportunity for mistakes, and with that virtual chess match, if you will, the biggest crucial component of that is going to be KC getting third down stops and ultimately, forcing as many 3-and-outs as possible against Buffalo, which, looking back at the Week 11 loss to Buffalo, which was KC's first loss of the year, that is something they were not particularly good at. In fact, in the final 3 minutes of the game, Josh Allen alone went Superman mode and converted 2 third downs and a 4th down to really, drive the nail home for Buffalo. And with that, KC traditionally are most of the year really has not been overly effective on third downs. In fact, allowing a 44% conversion rate, which is actually 29th in football right now. And, with all the praising I just did of their wreaking havoc unit against the Texans, they did not register a single sack against Buffalo in week 11. And I know, as I've previewed Buffalo before, this is an offensive line that gave up the fewest amount of sacks, and in fact are coming off of, facing the number one and number two sack total leaders defensively in their two playoff games. So, it's going to be a huge chess match, and Spags is going to have to dig deep and draw up the perfect blitzes to really make Allen uncomfortable, which is not something that's he's really been uncomfortable at all this year. And just to stick with the defense, another matchup, it kind of goes with the wreaking havoc and third down stops. Is going to be Nick Bolton and the KC linebacking core against James Cook and Josh Allen and Buffalo's running game. I mean, Buffalo is going to try to run the ball. I know it. You know it. Hell, your grandma probably knows it. I mean, they run the ball through Josh Allen, through James Cook. That's what they do. And given the weather and given where this is at and the time of year, I mean, there's no denying that's what they're going to do in this game. They did it against Denver. They did it against Baltimore. We'd be foolish to assume they're going to do anything different. So, KC is going to have to step up, and at least this season, they've been pretty great against the run. But, they are coming off allowing not favorable running stats to Houston. And you got to take the good with the bad. I talked about pressuring the QB, but, they did give up 88 yards and 4.9 yards per carry to Mixon, and 7 yards per carry and 42 yards to Stroud. So, that doesn't sound like much, but James Cook and Josh Allen are certainly more effective pieces in the running game than those two players I mentioned. So, that is going to have to, they're going to have to be better against the run in this game. And so, moving over to the offensive side of the ball for the Chiefs, I just talked about the Chiefs being horrendous on third down. Well, luckily for them, Buffalo is just as bad, actually tied with the Chiefs on their giving up third down conversion rate. So, similarly, Mahomes and company are going to have to be flawless and execute in those moments to wear this defensive unit down. I mean, it's going to have to happen. The biggest matchup with that for the Chiefs is going to, again, be their left tackle, who likely is going to be Joe Thuney again, against Greg Russo and Buffalo's edge rushers. I mean, Russo is coming off of, a sack in each playoff game thus far. Meanwhile, Joe Thuney gave up 2 sacks and a whopping 15% pressure rate against Houston last week. So, they're going to have to do better than that. And I know I've beaten a broken drum right now saying that, but I mean, the time is now to do that. And, with saying all that, this Buffalo defense as a whole is vulnerable. I mean, we've seen it in the regular season with some teams putting up Big 12-esque numbers on them. But, KC is not going to have many opportunities to exploit that if they're not converting on third downs, are not being in that situation entirely, and they're not keeping Mahomes clean and upright. I mean, they're going to have to keep Mahomes clean to execute, or he's going to have to pull some real rabbit out of his hat-ish to make things happen, which, I mean, playoff Pat, anything can happen, but still, I mean, the left tackle is going to be the biggest driving force if they're successful offensively. But, with that and Buffalo's vulnerability on defense, that brings me to the next biggest matchup, our biggest factor, if you will, for the Chiefs offensively. And that is going to be another vintage playoff Travis Kelce performance. I mean, there's no denying, if you watch that Ravens-Bills game, they were getting absolutely torched by Baltimore's tight ends. And honestly, if it wasn't for one crucial drop that I'm sure we all know about by someone on the Ravens, I might not even be doing a Chiefs v. Bills preview right now. And so, that's something that they're going to have to exploit. And thankfully, Kelce is coming off of 7 catches, 117 yards, and a touchdown against Houston, and, looked really back in sync with Mahomes when KC needed it most. So that is going to have to be present again for this game if KC is going to be, the juggernaut that we have known them to be offensively. Those are really the biggest matchups to watch and the biggest factors to look out for in this game with Buffalo. But again, like I said, this is going to be exactly that prized blow for blow title fight everyone's hoping for. I mean, honestly, this might be a better game than the Super Bowl. And both teams have their red flags and their issues. But again, it's going to come down to who could stay on the field the longest and, who doesn't make mistakes or, makes just one. Like I said, I truly believe that this game will be decided by whichever defense can manage to get off the field the most and stop the long, sustained drives from the opposing offense. So buckle up, strap in, grab your popcorn. Let's go, Chiefs. Let's get this done. And hopefully I'm back next week or in 2 weeks, giving you my Super Bowl preview.